Adanna stood frozen in Professor Okonkwo's office, watching the fluorescent lights flicker above as he crumpled her final project grading sheet in his fist. "Miss Adanna," he said, his voice smooth as palm wine. "You're a brilliant student. Top of my class for 3 years." She should have felt proud. Instead, her stomach twisted into knots. He walked around his desk, moving too close to her. The scent of his expensive cologne couldn't mask what was about to happen. She'd heard the whispers about him in the corridors of Lagos State University, but she never thought it would be her. "I can guarantee you graduate with first-class honors," he continued, his eyes traveling places they shouldn't. "All you have to do is be cooperative." The word hung in the air like smoke. Her heart pounded so loud she was sure he could hear it. This was the man who controlled her future. One signature from him, and 4 years of sleepless nights, of choosing textbooks over food, of her mother's sacrifices, all of it could disappear. "Sir, I don't understand," she stammered, though she understood perfectly. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Come to my place this weekend. We'll discuss your grades." She ran out of his office, down the corridor, past students who stared at her tear-stained face. She didn't stop until she reached her hostel room. What would you do in this situation? Comment below and don't forget to subscribe. This story gets darker. 2 weeks later, I sat in the examination hall, my pen flying across the paper. I knew this material inside and out. Developmental psychology, I'd memorized every theory, every case study. When results came out, I couldn't breathe. F, a giant, red F next to my name. There must be a mistake, I told the departmental secretary, my voice cracking. She looked at me with pity. Professor Okonkwo submitted the grades himself. No mistakes. I felt the walls closing in. My mother had sold her market stall to pay for my final year. My younger siblings were counting on me to be the first university graduate in our family. I was supposed to break the cycle of poverty in our small village in Enugu. Now that night, I called home. My mother's voice was filled with pride, asking about graduation preparations. I couldn't tell her. Instead, I locked myself in my cramped hostel room and cried until my roommate, Chioma, forced the door open. "He did it to you too," she whispered. I looked up, tears streaming. "What, Professor Okonkwo? He failed you after you refused him." She sat on my bed, her own eyes glistening. "He's done this to 5 other girls that I know of." We were all too afraid to speak up. Something shifted inside me, fear turned to fire. I barely slept that night, staring at the ceiling while Lagos traffic hummed outside. By morning, I'd made my decision. I wouldn't be silent, but in Nigeria, who would believe a nobody like me over a tenured professor? My hands shook as I typed out my story, every humiliating detail, on my phone. "Don't do this," Chioma warned. "You'll ruin your life. He has connections everywhere, the vice-chancellor, the education board, everywhere." She was right. But I thought about my mother, about my little sister Ngozi who looked up to me, about every girl who'd come after me. I posted my story on Twitter with shaking hands. Within an hour, my phone exploded, messages poured in, some supportive, others vicious. "Attention seeker. Gold digger. You probably dressed provocatively." The words cut like razors, but then something unexpected happened. The story is about to take a massive turn. Hit that like button if you're with Adanna so far. A journalist from The Guardian Nigeria reached out to Adanna. Then another from BBC Africa. Then CNN. Within 48 hours, #Justice for Adanna was trending nationwide. But the real earthquake came when Kayamika stepped forward, a graduate from 2 years ago. She'd been one of Professor Okonkwo's victims too, and she had saved his text messages. Explicit, disgusting propositions in exchange for passing grades. Then came Blessing. And Fatima. And Grace, 7 women total, spanning 5 years. All with the same story. All with evidence. The university had no choice but to suspend him pending investigation. Adanna would never forget the day she walked back into that campus. Students she'd never met stopped her. Thanked her, hugged her. But the administration's lawyers circled like vultures. trying to intimidate her into dropping everything. Professor Okonkwo's wife showed up at her hostel one evening, tears running down her face. "Please," she begged. "He has children. You're destroying our family." Adanna felt her resolve waver, until she remembered his cold smile in that office. "How many families had he destroyed, Ma?" she said gently. "I'm not the one who destroyed your family." "He did." The moment he chose power over decency, the wife left without another word. The hearing was set for the following month. The disciplinary panel room felt like a furnace. Professor Okonkwo sat across from them, his lawyer beside him, looking confident, too confident. Adanna's hands trembled as she presented her case, her voice barely above a whisper at first. But as they spoke, all 7 of them, their voices grew stronger. His lawyer attacked their characters, their motives, their clothing choices. It was brutal. Then Kayamika presented the text messages. The panel chairwoman's face went pale. "These are doctored." Professor Okonkwo finally shouted, his composure cracking. "These girls are liars. Failures looking for excuses." "Then explain this," the chairwoman said quietly, sliding a folder across the table. Internal emails. He'd been reported before, 3 times in 8 years. The university had buried it every time. The room went silent. Adanna watched his face crumble as reality set in. For years, he'd held all the power. Now, he had none. The panel found him guilty on all counts. Terminated. Credentials revoked. Criminal charges recommended. But here's the truth about Adanna's victory. She felt empty, no triumphant celebration. No victory music. Just bone-deep exhaustion. They let Adanna retake the exam under a different professor. She scored an A, but her real reward came 6 months later when the university implemented mandatory harassment training and an anonymous reporting system. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Her mother came to her graduation, tears streaming down her face, not knowing half of what her daughter had endured. Maybe someday Adanna would tell her everything. As she walked across that stage, degree in hand, she thought about all the other Adannas who'd stay silent out of fear. All the girls who'd come before her who never got justice. She made a promise to herself that day, she'd use her psychology degree to help survivors. To be the voice for those still finding theirs, because the truth is, this isn't just Adanna's story. It's happening in universities across Africa, across America, across the world. Different names, same script, but here's what she learned that day: they only have power when we're divided. When we're silent. When we're afraid, the moment we speak up together, everything changes. And Adanna? She never stopped speaking up. If Adanna's story moved you, share it. You never know who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more real stories that matter, and remember, your voice is more powerful than you think. Drop a comment with your thoughts below. Stay strong, stay vocal.